Welcome guys, so today I have filmed a couple of games when I went to locals. I recorded 4 of the 5 rounds and these were the matchups, and I got 3rd place at the end. And yeah, let's just jump into the first round versus Unchained Fiendsmith, where I did win the die roll, and I will go first. I chose to play the Yummy deck with the Nouvelles, and this game shows how you can go full combo even with a bad start. I had to summon the Miracle Raven with tributing a monster from the hand, and then went into the Almirage and accessed the Yummy combo this way. And at this point I do not own any of the new Yummy Marshmao yet, so all of these games are without this monster because we weren't allowed to play any proxies. So I essentially missed one level 1 body on the end board because I could not recycle the surprise. But still, even without this, my end board was quite strong every time. And here I just went for the full combo and summoned the Samsara Sorrow Cat, went into the Diviner. I used the minion to revive the Capsi, and here I was thinking about whether I should leave this as an import or if I want to extend back into the Nouvelle combo by linking off the Herald, which I essentially did. I summoned the Masquerena, added the Angry Burger and used its effect to add the Chef to Nouvelle. The Chef added the Field Spell and the Field Spell added the Omni Negate, which is not live currently. The Negate is only live if I control a Nouvelle Ritual monster, and my plan is here to use the Yummy Surprise to essentially stop my opponent from summoning or from comboing. I also have the Herald back on the board, which I recycled with the Sorrow Cat. And if my opponent special summons, I can use the Chef to get into ritual monsters in the opponent's turn this way. In the end phase, I activate the Surprise to summon the Capsi back to the board. And it's just that I have to explain to everybody, to all of my opponents, what the cards do, which is a huge bonus factor of this deck, because yeah, you can sometimes do stuff that they don't really expect that you're doing. Now he's starting his turn with a big thing. I essentially have the Herald as the first Omni Negate. He starts with a Droplet. He cannot send any monsters from the hand because of the Herald, so he has to use he has to discard a spell for it. I chose just to chain my Capsi to it and let him negate the Herald Now on summon the Snatchy will activate the Crookie from deck, and the Cupsy Yummy will draw a card. Now he's resolving his Thrust and getting the Talons. So at this point I don't want him to use the Talons to take any of my monsters, especially the IP. So I decided to activate the IP here, go into SP, and this will trigger the Herald once again to add a ritual monster from my deck. And also I can use the SP to get rid of his spell in the graveyard, the Mutinity in the Sky. I'm not sure if he is able to recycle this one, but I thought I might as well banish it, and I choose to add myself the level 6 ritual monster here. This is the safest play that I can do, because on summon it just negates every face-up card of my opponent. And also I can tribute a monster from him to summon the Burger. Again, he has to think quite hard. He's using the Engraver to add a Tract. Takes a while. So he's not sure if he wants Tract or the Saint, but he chooses to go for the Tract. Activating the Tract. Yeah, he tries to find a good angle. Discarding a second Droplet. So at this point nothing much has happened yet. He really takes his time to think what he can do, but it's really really hard to play with a link-based strategy into a Yummy board, because whatever he just summons I can just book with the Cookie Yummy way. He decides to draw 2, because even if he takes one of my monsters he cannot out this board. Normal summoning the Musketeer, and I just say okay, let's use the effect of Snatchy. Checking in the graveyard. I guess it's just check if I had gone through the Cookie yet, but I don't know if he has anything to interrupt this. But yeah, seems like he didn't have any other play here, and so he just scooped it up, and we went to game number 2. This time he's going first, and I don't play any hand traps, I think, that would really stop him. So I just sided in some board breakers, and he's starting with the Saint, going into Requiem, summoning the Lacrima from the main deck and sending the Engraver. Again, he takes his time, thinking about which way he wants to play his combo, and I believe that he said he's thinking about a very wild, very interesting line that he came up with. Now going into the Link 2 sequence, fusing into the Arrow Eater. using now the effect of the aerial eater. Still thinking about which play is the best. It's kind of slow at this point, but I believe that it will take up some or get to some speed later. He sent the another engraver with the aerial eater, and now linking those two off into a Yama, setting one of the traps and destroying it with the Aruha, which summons it to the board and triggers the trap to summon the I don't know the name, one of the twins from the deck. Now he resets the trap with the effect and pops the Aruha to summon another monster from the deck, which is the Shayama. Now linking away the Shayama and the Yama into the Soul of Rage. And I think you cannot really be mad about an Unchained player to take a little bit of time, because this deck is so absurdly complicated in my eyes. I really do not know which play or which sequence is the right one. So here he just destroyed his Soul of Rage with the Shayama, and the Yama summons back the sequence, and the Soul of Rage adds back the engraver to his hand. As soon as you have 2 level 6 buddies on the board, you always think about whether you want to summon a Caesar now or if you want to summon it later. And here he just extends with the engraver, adding the tracked for Lurie. Now he has another body on board. Here he's thinking whether he should use the track now to fuse, or if he wants to summon the Caesar right away, and he chooses to go for the tracked into the Lacrima hard summon. Lacrima again brings out the sequence as a link 2, and we're just checking if it can summon back any Light Fiend from the graveyard. And now he's going into the Caesar, so that the Shavara is not under it, and he can send it to the graveyard to trigger its effect and set the other trap card. And now linking away these two. Somehow I think he wanted to get to a Link 4 body to summon the Abao. But now it is just a Link 3, which is the Soul of Anguish, which is just an interruption which is a board breaker in his turn, but it doesn't do much in my turn. Now he has ended, and his board is basically the Caesar with both traps that I know of. I do summon the Fenrir. I did side this one in, especially for the Caesar as an out. And I think I might as well just start with the Fenrir to search, just to have one more body in hand that I could use for some ritual summons later. But he uses the Mistaken Arrest, and I just told him if you would have shown me the Mistaken Arrest, I could have scooped right from the start, because this is nothing that I could play through. And now in game 3 it is once again my turn to start, and I do start with the Yummy combo, using the Capsi to add the cookie and it gets met with a trolling Lockbird. And here I use the talents, and he reveals his hand, which just contains 2 tracked and 2 droplets, so it just doesn't matter what I take. I believe that I chose to take one of the tracks out of his hand, just so he doesn't have any follow-up if he gets through my board and it gets into a grind game. So here I just go for the Yummy combo. This really plays very, very strongly under Droll, because you don't have to add very much cards. Especially I did add the cookie with the Cupsy, which just meant that I already had the surprising hand. And now I just go for the Lollipop, use the minion, and I just have the full Yummy board. But still thinking which is the strongest if I want to go into a Herald. And I thought, yes, I do. And so my end board is just the Herald, which now gives me follow-up if I use the negation effect in his turn. And I know I just have to stop the tracked. He does have the droplet to stop the Herald and negate it before I can use its effect, but still I do have the Yummy Surprise to go into the Yummy the Yummy engine as interruptions, and I also have the Nouvelle recipe, which I activated. He thought I was just gaslighting him because I don't have any rituals that I could use it with, but the second card I did set was the quick play spell of Nouvelles, which just summons 1 pendulum from my deck to my field. So I could have went full Nouvelle combo in his turn, but yeah, he thought he just starts with the tracked, and maybe I would have let it resolve, but I negated it and it was game, so already 1-0. And round number 2, I played against the new DDD deck. I have never played against this deck, and it just received some new support. And now my opponent won the die roll, so he's going first, and he has to explain a lot of the effects to me because I don't know any card, and still I have very few interruptions in this deck, so normally my opponents can play very safely, but maybe you got a glimpse of my hand. I do have a Fruvalos, which turns out to be a very strong card against the strategy. And I decided to drop the Fuva now, because I didn't know if this deck plays any Link ones. Now he is using the effect of his monster in the graveyard, which I think destroys a contract to summon it, and then he can modulate some levels to go into his rank 4 monster, which then on summon seems to add a card. Now he has another contract on the board, and he ranks up the rank 4 into the big one, which is a monster negate once per chain. And all he has to do is tribute or destroy a contract card on his board, or detach 2 materials, and if he negates a monster effect on field, the monster gets also attached to this. So this basically is a way to have almost infinite monster negate depending on the count of contracts that you have, because it basically fuels itself. And so I had to think quite hard here in which order I want to play this out. Also, I don't know any of his set cards, I think. I started with the Miracle Raven here, trying to ritual summon it by tributing a monster from my field or hand. And if I succeeded, this would have been a huge step into a potential Yummy board, but he decides to use the trap card, which is also a contract, and he has to discard a card or a DD card and then destroys a card on my side of the field, so the Miracle Raven does not resolve, sadly. And now I have to rely on my monster effects, summoning the Magician's Souls as one of my first actions, still preserving the normal summon. I thought I could go into a Snatchy first. Yep. And use the Snatchy effect to place the field spell. And then chain the Snatchy to the negate so it doesn't get attached. But this gets met with an Imper. Which then still negates the Snatchy, and he also does get the attach. I do have to summon the Capsi from the graveyard with the surprise. And now I thought if I want to go into a second Snatchy or into the Linkuriboh, I chose to use the Linkuriboh instead and summon the Capsi Yummy Way to get more names into rotation. Chained it to the effect, it gets met with a Ghost Spell, for which I do have the Called by the Grave. Now the Capsi summons the other Capsi from the graveyard, and it gets negated also. And here I realized that I did make a mistake. I should have gone into the Snatchy instead of the Linkuriboh, because this way I could have used Snatchy again from the graveyard now after I revived it. I also forgot to chain the Linkuriboh so that the Capsi would not have got attached, and he essentially would miss one negate. But he draw one card, which is not engine, so he just attacks with his monster, dealing 3000 damage and then passing it back to me. I do have 3 cards in hand, but 2 of them are bricks, if I remember correctly, so I start by normal summoning the Poisonnaire that I just drew. And I just hoped that he will not negate this, and it did resolve. And I thought, okay, if I can manage to get this ritual summon off, I can get back into the game. I activated the meat recipe, and he revealed that his card that he was drawing for turn was the Dominus Impulse. So now my turn has ended here. I used the Linkuriboh to special summon back by tributing the Poisonnaire, which at least gives me the option to scale it and use it in the next turn if I manage to get some ritual cards online. And here he basically draw some engine and going into the link 2, which is just a very strong card. So basically on summon, this scales 2 pendulum monsters from the deck, which instantly gives him the opportunity to pendulum summon, which he also does. Now he ranks up into a link 3. This is the new one from the latest support that the deck got. He basically can destroy one of his cards and perform a second pendulum summon, so he does destroy one of them. Then that one triggers to bounce the other one. Now he can activate this one and use its effect to activate the contract, which searches a second one to scale, and now he can use his additional pendulum summon to get 2 more bodies out on the field, which then lets him activate one of his monsters in the graveyard to special summon back. So from basically nothing, he's got a full board, and I was hoping that my Linkuriboh could preserve some of the damage and give me one more turn, but soon I will realize that this will not be the case. So here he synchro summons into a level 6, which lets him reborn one of the monsters. This one foolishes one, and yeah, I just scooped it up because I realized that I will not have a second turn. And now going into game number 2. Yep, this is game number 2. And I will start with the Cupsy, adding the surprise. Going into the Snatchy, activate the Snatchy effect. And I felt really safe in this combo. I always had the surprise as a backup now. Just going for the Cupsy to get additional names. Sadly, because I do not own the Marshmao, I cannot search this one, but I just add the 2 remaining names, the Lolly and the Cookie, from the deck. I go into a second Snatchy, summon the Cookie, and synchro summon into the Lolly, getting 2 names back from the graveyard, and just do the usual combo stuff. Now I will use the Magician's Soul to send the ritual monster from the deck before I go into the Herald. Because of the Floodgate, I could not use it afterwards. Now I use the menu to reveal 2 Nouvelles monsters, and he basically chooses which one I will get to my hand. And depending of the type of the monster, I will also get one of the recipe spells, in this case the fish recipe. Now after I resolve my whole Yummy combo, I can use the quick play spell, the Culinary Confrontation, which does lock me into only using Nouvelles and Patissier monsters if I want to summon a monster from the extra deck. Now I go for the Miracle Raven to scale my Poisonnaire. I will ritual summon for the level 3 Nouvelle monster, which I cannot pronounce, and the Raven I do use as the full material. With the Raven, I also searched for the Angry Burger, which led to the Chef de Nouvelles. This one added the Nouvelle recipe book, and I'm not sure if I did forget. Yeah, I could have drawn a card with the Magician Souls here by sending the Yummy field spell, because this will get replaced anyway. But still, I used the Poisonnaire to trigger my level 3 ritual monster and summon the level 5. This adds me 2 ritual monsters by triggering the level 5 and the Nouvelle recipe. Now activating the field spell to get the Omni Negate and the Nouvelle recipe, the permanent spell card. Says that each time that a ritual monster uses its effect to tribute another monster, the opponent has to pay 850 life points. So essentially, as you go through the courses of the meal that you present to the opponent, for every course he has to pay, which is a very funny and cool idea, I think. And here I end on the IP. I summoned back the Samsara Sorrow Cat from the graveyard to essentially set up a double Herald. This works by using the Herald to negate, and later on I will summon the level 4 Nouvelle monster from my hand, which then recycles the Herald into the extra deck, and then I can use the Sorrow Cat to summon the Herald once again. And so basically this end board contains 3 Omni Negates, the opportunity to use my level 5 Nouvelle monster to summon the level 6 one that wipes the opponent's board. So basically this is, I always say, this is Murakumo on crack, because it gets rid of all the monsters while also negating every face-up spell and trap that the opponent controls at this point. And yeah, I just let him resolve some of his effects, because I still don't feel threatened. He activates a few of his contracts. I believe he now wants to use a effect to destroy one of his cards to search another card, which is the level 4. And another thing is the Nouvelle recipe puts all of the opponent's monsters in attack position as long as I control a Nouvelle monster card, which makes it very easy to activate and trigger my Nouvelle monster effects. Now he sent a card from the deck to the graveyard, which gets banished by the Herald. So already, just by being on the board, the Herald just has a lot of value just as a floodgate. Now he's using another effect to destroy something, which lets him add or special one of his pendulum cards. That one I did negate with the Herald, and I added some follow-up in the form of Miracle Raven. Now he is summoning another monster from his hand, which I want to answer by tributing one of his monsters to summon the level 6 from the deck. He did Ash. This one I negated the Ash, so I still summoned the level 6, which gets rid of the rest of the board, and this just seals the game. And now we're in game 3. He's again starting by summoning 2 monsters. One of them can modulate the level, so he gets into his rank 4. Somehow he ranks up into a rank 5 and link summon with another body into his insane Link 2 monster to scale 2 of his pendulums from the deck. Then one of the pendulums will send another monster to the graveyard. I think this is the one he can use to fuse something. Now he destroys one of the pendulums after he pendulum summoned to get a second pendulum summon. Now he's just destroying some cards, adding some cards. He's now banishing this one from the graveyard to summon a fusion monster. So this is a really cool interaction. This deck just does everything. It does fusion, it does synchros, it does XYZ, pendulum, and link summon. So you it does lock you into DD, into the archetype, but it does not lock you into a summoning mechanic, so you can just do everything after the other. And now he has 2 level 6s on board, and I just didn't know that the Wave King Caesar is also a DDD card. So this is one thing I did learn. He wanted to use again the monster to modulate the levels and go into a second rank 4, but he started his turn with this one, so by any effect he just summons back the XYZ monster from the graveyard, which then lets it trigger again to search for a card. So this seems to be not once per turn. And then he sends a monster from the deck to the graveyard, and I believe that this is his end board. Nope, he ranks up into the monster negate as his last action. So his end board basically is the monster negate and the Wave Hiking Caesar. And my hand was quite weird, because I think I lacked some engine, and so I had to start with the Magician Souls and try to bait out a monster effect, either the monster negate or the Caesar, and he used the Caesar to destroy and negate and destroy the summon. Now I followed this up with the Dark Ruler and the Thrust. So I was just hoping that I can now play through his board. I would have really liked to add a evenly matched or something as a hard board breaker, but I needed some engine to start, because my hand was just full of partial combo pieces. He decided that he wants to let me add the level 3 Nouvelles monster, and this also gave me the recipe. I activated the recipe to ritual summon. He had a Dominus Impulse in hand, and I just couldn't play through this board. As you saw, my hand was just full of ritual monsters. Yeah, so I was doing nothing here. And this was the first loss. Now a score of 1-1 going into round number 3 against Mitsurugi. He was playing a pure version of Mitsurugi, so now I was again concerned to get hit by an Dominus Impulse, so I always made sure that if I had combo that I didn't choke on any point where I had to use a ritual summon. And here I just started with the Poisonnaire into the Miracle Raven and a pre-prep for the Bouillabaisse, new level 1. And I also had the Nouvelles recipe book, which essentially gives me additional cards to search if I ritual summon. Now I use the fish recipe to summon the level 1, which then also lets me add the meat recipe. Now I trigger some of my effects. Channeling 1 was the Raven, channeling 2 the Nouvelles recipe, and channeling 3 the Bouillabaisse. The Bouillabaisse does excavate the top 5 cards and lets me add a Nouvelle card if I find one. The Nouvelle recipe book lets me target one of the summoned ritual monsters, and it adds a Nouvelle card from hand, and it also increases the level of the monster by 1. And then the Miracle Raven just searches a ritual monster from the deck. And here I realized that I did make a mistake, because now my Bouillabaisse is level 2 and I can no longer bridge into the Yummy engine. I was thinking very hard if I can think of a way to still do it, but I came to the conclusion that there was no way to bridge into Yummy anymore, and so I just went for the rest of the Nouvelle combo. I used the Angry Burger that I have searched to get the Chef de Nouvelle, which then lets me add a Nouvelle card from the deck, except a Pendulum monster. So I did add the level 6 ritual here. Now I tried to add the Chef recipe again, which is the Omni Negate, and I used the effect of the Nouvelle restaurant to put a ritual monster up to the bottom of the deck and draw a card. So I was hoping that I could find a Yummy card and go into a link one, but I didn't, so I just linked the 2 monsters off into Dynamondo and passed the turn this way. And now my opponent started with the Mitsurugi prayers in the draw phase, and he tributed the Futsu. He also paid 800 life points to search and to special summon. So he did search the Saji and special summoned the other one. Now activating the effect of Futsu to add, and the effect of his monster on the board. I do not know the name of this one, but it essentially just adds a Mitsurugi monster. And now he adds the Habakiri and the ritual spell. And I think also in draw phase I use my Dynamondo to special summon back the Bouillabaisse from the graveyard. This lets me trigger it once again on special summon to excavate the top 5 cards. Then, because the ritual monster was special summoned, I trigger again the recipe book as Jailing 2. And then, because I targeted my level 1 ritual, I used it as Jailing number 3 to tribute itself and the opponent's monster, and rank up into my level 3 Nouvelle monster. And so I added myself the level 4 with the recipe book. I excavated 5 to add the Poissonnaire, and then on summon I used the level 3 to draw another card. So by just this one interaction I basically added 3 cards while getting rid of one of my opponent's cards. He summons the Murakumo to his board and chain blocks it with the 2 monsters that he has sent from the deck, adding back the ritual from the hand and destroying my monsters. Then he summoned the snake from the graveyard, which let me trigger the chef to special summon itself, and I had to get rid of one of my cards in hand by the effect of Murakumo, and I just discarded the added Poissonnaire, and now I have the chef on my board. He activated the ritual once again. Thinking about which one he wants to tribute, he tributed the Murakumo to summon the Habakiri from deck. And now he does have the Murakumo as Chainlink 1. And I do have my Chef as Chainlink 2. Because he did special summon, I can banish a recipe card to perform a ritual summon from my hand. And I did summon the level 4 that I just added before. So he did add the one that destroys. Not sure what the name is. I basically use my level 4 to target 3 cards in my graveyard to shuffle them back. I thought whether I want to target any of my opponent's cards in the graveyard, but he already used all of them, so I didn't see any point of doing that. Just reading the card. Oh yeah, it's called Mitsurugi Magatama, I think. Yeah, now he's activating the Magatama to get rid of my ritual monster, but this one targets, so I can activate its effect to tribute one of my Nouvelles monsters. I chose to tribute the Chef and his Murakumo to summon my level 5 Mitsurugi monster, my level 5 Nouvelles monster. The Magatama still destroys my ritual monster, but he will get the surge from the Habakiri, and I will get the surge from my level 5 to add once again another Poisonnaire from the deck, and he will just add the mirror to perform yet another ritual summon. And now I still have the Omni Negate trap in the graveyard. I didn't have to use it yet. I didn't feel threatened by anything that he did do. What he should have done is, I believe, before going into the second ritual summon, he should have just gone into the battle phase to get rid of my Chef. But I guess he didn't think about the interruption that it would he didn't think about the interruption that the Chef could be. Yeah, now I just use my level 5 Nouvelle to tribute his monsters to summon the level 6 Nouvelle, which then tributes the rest of his monsters. And if you take a look at his life points, I didn't attack once this game, but he is already down to 3,800, because every time I used a ritual monsters effect to tribute, he had to pay the 850 life points. So this is a very expensive meal, and I just used the level 6 Nouvelle monster to summon my Angry Burger from the deck, which lets him pay yet another 850 life, but he doesn't have any cards to extend, and so he scoops and we go to game number 2. So all of this was just game number 1, where I messed up my combo line and I missed out on the Yummy combo. Now going into game number 2, he's going first, and he started by normal summoning the Saji and adding the Habakiri, using the Habakiri to special summon from the deck and tributing, which lets him add another card, now ritual summoning with the Mitsurugi ritual, going into the Murakumo, adding back the ritual, summoning the snake from the graveyard. And I was a little bit worried that he could go into Gallian Granite and search for the Fossil Diner Pachi, But then I remembered that he already normal summoned, so I was quite relaxed at this point that he didn't have any floodgates on the board. So he just ritual summons some more times and adding his Omni Negate trap card. And this basically is now his end board. I believe that he uses the 2 monsters. Instead of going into a rank 4, he goes into the IP Masquerena, sets his trap card and passes turn. So he also does not have the Mitsurugi Prayers, which is a huge point that he cannot tribute any of the monsters with it. And I just start with the Herald, which he does answer with the trap card, because the Herald, I would have sent the Entis to the grave and target the trap card to destroy. And so he just got rid of a body. I follow this one up with the Dark Ruler. And now I can basically play freely. I add the level 1 ritual and the recipe card with the pre-prep. Trying to ritual summon now. Maybe. Still thinking in which order I should play my cards. The ritual gets answered by an impulse, but this time I do have a second one, and these recipe cards are not once per turn. So I again summoned the level 1, added the second recipe ritual from the deck. I got lucky, I hit the Poisonnaire. And now I am just thinking how I want to play this out. I could use the Poisonnaire to summon and trigger the Bouillabaisse and tribute his field to go into my Nouvelles combos, but the problem is if the Mitsurugis are getting tributed, they will trigger. So instead I just summon the Poisonnaire without triggering my level 1 ritual monster. And this way I just go into the Yummy engine, because I think it is just better to beat over the his board and then try to set up some more interruptions in my main phase 2. Because I did use Dark Ruler, I cannot go for lethal this turn. But still, I use the Snatchy to go for the minion. And here I can play my whole combo without getting any further interruptions. Going into a second Snatchy here and summoning the Lollipo. Summoning 2 back from the graveyard. So now every Yummy monster gets a boost of 2500 attack, which is enough to beat over all of his monsters. There is no point in it attacking directly, so I just go into my main phase 2. And maybe you saw that I was thinking about using the today's menu already, so I do have some follow-up still. I decided to go into the Herald first, just to be safe. I was showing him 2 Nouvelles monsters from the deck, so I gave him the choice between my level 3 and my level 4 Nouvelle monster. The level 3 one would draw a card on summon, the level 4 one can shuffle 3 cards from either graveyard back into the deck. He decided that he lets me draw a card, and now I do ritual summon using the Miracle Raven to summon the level 3. Then the Miracle Raven still triggers because it got tributed for a ritual summon. It does not it doesn't matter if it gets banished. So now I can add the Angry Burger, the burger adds the chef adds the field spell, and the field spell adds the Omni Negate. So I think this is just something that you have now seen a couple times. I summoned back the Samsara, this time to Link Summon. I thought about going into an IP, but I decided to go for SP and banish the trap card in the graveyard because this is a potential Murokumo on the board, and I didn't want to spend my Omni Negates on some cards that he already has, and try to preserve these for any follow-up that he could have. But yeah, he doesn't have anything. He had the Pachi in hand already, but he couldn't summon it during the last turn, so I won this game 2-0, going into round number 3 versus Lunalight with this, which is a very scary matchup, because I do not play many hand traps to stop them, and board breakers do not really matter if they set up a Liger Dancer. I got really lucky here that I won the die roll, and I started with the today's menu, and I chose to show him the, let's see, I guess it's always the level 1. Yeah, it is for a starter always the level 1 Pendulum, the Poisonnaire, and the level 1 Ritual here. In this case, he decided that I can get the Poisonnaire, which then on normal summon will always add the Miracle Raven now. So this is just no, I added the Ritual Spell, which is kind of surprising to me. So this just means that I have more cards in hand that I need. Yeah, just going straight into the Link one, going for the Yummy way, again searching for the Yummy and the cookie. I believe if I would have played the Marshmao, I could have set up even stronger boards here. I went for the Kapsi now as summon number 5 to try and play around Nibiru. Summoning the Lollipop way, getting 2 monsters back, now linking into Snatchy, using the minion to get my last body that I need. I always like to wait with the minion until I have a synchro monster on the field, so even if the minion gets interrupted, I can just chain the synchro monster to this one. And now once again I summon the Magician's Soul before I go into the Herald, and I use the Magician's Soul to get rid of the field spell and draw a card. Now summoning the Herald, I leave the Yummy on the board. Just if I get interrupted now, I can still set the surprise and have it live with the bounce, because I still control 2 light beast monsters. I used now the pre-prep, added the Bouillabaisse and the recipe. I also have the original preparation of rites, which lets me add the Angry Burger, and also adds back one of the recipes from the graveyard, using the burger to go into the chef. Chef now goes for the Nouvelles recipe. Yeah, I just have all the tools that I need to put up a insane board. I choose to play summon the cookie from the hand, which I did not use yet, so I can tribute the cookie from the board that it doesn't get banished, I will summon the level 1 ritual monster, which now adds the other ritual spell. I use the effect of the level 1 to excavate 5. I use the Nouvelles recipe to target my level 1, which again triggers it. Then I tribute them. So there is a whole lot of stuff happening here. So I essentially summoned the level 3 ritual monster, which also lets me draw a card. And while I was doing this, I added myself the Nouvelles restaurant, which now adds the chef recipe. Again, explaining some of the cards to my opponent, what they are doing. He gives the chef recipe a good read, so you should always take the time to read all your opponent's cards very thoroughly. I summon back the Samsara cat, and once again this is the double herald setup during the end phase. I will also trigger the Nouvelles restaurant to put a recipe card and a other card from the graveyard to the bottom of the deck and draw yet another card. And now it is time for my opponent to try to break this board. He starts with a Dark Ruler, which would be a very strong card, but I do have the Omni Negate, and he chooses to scoop game number 1. And at this point I do not know what he's playing, so I'm just going blind into game number 2. I sided in the board breakers, which is just the plan, but now he was revealing that he's playing the Lunar Light strategy, and yeah, I just thought I would let him play the combo out, just to get a feeling for what the cards can do. I have played a few times against this. I know a few of the effects and what they do, but I still haven't really understood the whole mechanics and combo lines of the deck. He basically started with the Masquerade, sending the Silver Hound, I think, to summon the Gold Leo, sending the Sheep, I think, added the Sheep back to get the Poly, going into the Something Dancer, which adds the Perfume, which is just an insane card. Now, I think he has bounced his I think it's Kaleidogic or something. So he bounced this one, specialed it out. He milled or sent a fusion monster from the extra deck to the graveyard, which he later can use as a fusion material. Now he uses the Perfume to reborn one of his monsters, and these are not once per turn. So he can just use the effects over and over again. He milled another name that he needs to fusion summon later, now using the Perfume to discard and search for a tiger, I think. It might be. Now scaling this one to reborn, going into a Dugares to draw to. So also here I don't believe that this is a key part of the combo, but he just did this to get even more value. Now he uses the second pendulum monster to fuse, which now triggers the cross sheep to summon back the one that sends yet another, I think it's called Leo Dancer. Now he triggered the Masquerade in the previous chain, so now he added back the Poly from the graveyard, and he can use the Poly for a sort of a Miracle Fusion effect and summon yet another Liger Dancer. But before doing this, he goes into the Baguska, and this is the full board with double Liger Dancer, SP and Baguska, which I think I really cannot do much about. He even has a set card to, even if I would have any chance, I try to use the Lightning Storm to blow up the back row. His set card was the Blackwood Loves, he called Snatchy, and without having the opportunity to go into my Yummy combo, I really cannot out any of this. So my only chance was that I could set up 6 Yummy monsters, so each of them gets a huge attack boost and then run over the Liger Dancers. But even then, he could have just hold the effects and blow up my board. Here I used the Diviner to search for a Miracle Raven, which gets met by a Fuvalos. And now I basically have to think if I want to give him any draws or how much draws I want to give him. So I think I chained this one as trailing 2. So I still get a summon from the deck without him having or getting to draw a card. I summon Poisonnaire to my field and the Patissiel to his field, which then triggers the Poisonnaire to add a level 1 ritual monster or a recipe card from my deck. The normal combo line would have been to use the Raven to tribute the Diviner and then get 2 level 1 bodies on board this way. But this would have given him infinite draws. So here I just choose to add a recipe spell. I activate it to ritual summon, tributing the Diviner for the level 3. I will not trigger the Diviner to a special from deck. I just trigger the level 3 to draw a card. Going for the Preparation of Rites, which is just an awesome extender, so I can just get to my field spell, my Omni Negate, while not giving him any draws, because all of these cards just activate and add. So you've seen this now a couple times. I use my Angry Burger to add the Chef de Nouvelles and shuffle the burger back into the deck. Chef adding the field spell. Maybe. Maybe I already do have the field spell. Okay, I do add the level 5 ritual. I scale the Raven, tribute the Poisonnaire to summon this one out. I ritual summon once again for the level 5 to have an extender on the board. Now the level 5 will get me the field spell, and the Raven will add a ritual monster, which is the level 4. I thought that the level 4 can shuffle important resources from his graveyard back into his deck, and this way I could have a really strong interruption with this one. I will now use the Poisonnaire to summon it out and put my level 5 into defense, which doesn't matter. I will just go for an IP and I will give him 1 draw. The reason why I did this is because I needed the level 5 to hit the graveyard. I did summon this one with a spell, so it was not a quick effect to tribute a monster. And this way, this card was basically just a dead body on the board. Yeah, so now with this end board, I was passing to my opponent. He was using the Masquerade, sending one of his monsters, which then special summons the Gold Leo. Because he special summoned a monster to his board, I triggered the Chef to summon itself. And I really think that the new support that Nouvelles got is quite strong, because this gives you just so much more layered interruptions through your back row. Even if your board gets cleared, you can still extend with the Chef in a later in the turn. So here I used the Chef and targeted itself to increase its level by up to 3. Because a monster was targeted, I could trigger the level 3 ritual monster to summon my level 5 and tribute his Gold Leo. And now he reveals that he has the heavy polymerization, and after I read it, I was sure that I needed to negate it, but he had a second one and I could not stop this. So now he is able to fuse straight into a Liger Dancer by just using monsters from his hand and also from his extra deck. So it's obvious that he needs to use the Leo Dancer, because this is a material that is required for the Liger Dancer. He also uses the Perfume Dancer and 2 monsters from his hand, so the heavy poly just does like 5000 damage to him. Now he summons the Liger Dancer, and because he special summoned, I use the Chef, banishing a recipe and performing a ritual summon for the level 4. And like I said, I just use the effect to shuffle back 2 of his names and also my Herald back into the deck to get rid of some of his resources. He normal summons one of his monsters to mill one of them. Now he summons back the one from the graveyard, and I wasn't quite sure why he didn't use the Liger Dancer already to blow up my board, but I could have always chained the IP Masquerena to go into SP, which then again would have been a interruption. But here my handy, my smartphone has died. Sadly, because the ending was quite, yeah, it was spectacular. It was quite spectacular, I think. So what happened was that he summoned his 2 monsters, and I used my level 5 to tribute one of them and to summon my level 6 from the deck, which then got rid of his other monsters. So he was only left with the Liger Dancer on the board. Then he went into the battle phase. He blew up my board with the effect of Liger Dancer, and he dealt 7600 damage by attacking twice, but he couldn't finish me off. And Then during my turn, I had a sales ban. So I used sales ban and called Liger Dancer so that he could not use its effect this turn. And I went into my Yummy engine and I summoned my whole board full of Yummies. So I had 6 Yummy monsters, which gave every monster that I controlled a boost of 3000 attack. And this way I safely went into the battle phase, beating over his Liger Dancer and went for lethal. And this way I also won against Lunalight, luckily by winning the dice roll, now with a score of 3-1. And after this we played a 5th round, which was not required, but we still wanted to play one more round. So there I faced off against Crystron K9. I lost the die roll, he messed up his combo. I cleared the board and ended up on some Yummy cards because I got rolled. I could not have extended in the other engines. Then I messed this up again. I summoned the Sorrow Cat, but I didn't want to extend any further by activating cards in hand or grave because he had an Izuna. So I ended my field with the Sorrow Cat and a Snatchy and a level 1, essentially, which gave him the opportunity to use double Imperm during his draw phase, and this way he broke my board again, which shouldn't have happened if I just ended the turn with a level 2 Synchro monster so that I could dodge one of the Imperms. But then game 2 I just set up a full board which he couldn't break, and then in game number 3 he went crazy. He put up a whole board of negation and interruptions which I could not have played through. So in round number 5 I lost against Crystron K9, so I ended with a score of 3-2, which still managed to get me to 3rd place at this event. And this concludes my day of locals, and I really hope that you have enjoyed this commentary. It was a bit of a long video, but still I am really happy to show you some of the games and the stuff that this deck can do. If you like the video, just leave a like, support the channel, and if you want to, you can also subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any following content. And in any case, I hope you have a wonderful day. Until next time, bye bye.